Fam, what's up? How's everybody doing today? Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for being on Bama Football on YouTube. Could I get a Roll Tide inside the comment box? I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the support. Today we're talking Alabama football news, a little college football news. Today is Monday. Today is December 16th. I hope that you had a fantastic weekend. Let me know where you're watching from inside the comment box. I appreciate you guys being here. Once again, thank you so much. As we talk Alabama football news, I think where we start off with is, there's various reports talking about Jalen Milroe declaring for the NFL draft following the bowl game. And I think that's worth talking about. I mean, this is somebody, and it's really the biggest question that everybody has when they come to the shows, when you watch the videos. What is Jalen Milroe going to do after the bowl game? And look, the guy he said, I'm going to focus on the game against Michigan. I'm going to play in that game. And then from our understanding and from people that have sources, for people who are talking, I've heard myself that he is going to the NFL. So that's kind of where we start. Let me know your thoughts inside the comment box. And you look, and I'm going to talk about the Reliaquest Bowl at the back end of the show. But when you look to Michigan and when you look to Alabama, Michigan has some guys that are opting out. And what does that say about the overall culture of the program? I get it. There's so many people that want Jalen Milroe gone and they're ready for a new quarterback, which there will be in 2025. But in terms of like these guys, and Milroe's not the only guy that hasn't opted out. I mean, you look at the players that are still playing and that want to play in this game, and how could they not play? All the captains are. A lot of guys who are draft eligible are going to play in that game, and all they've talked about is the next game, right? They haven't talked about the NFL, whereas you have Michigan that has 4 guys that are leaving to the NFL and opting out of the bowl game, right? So, Coach Saban said that when we went to the playoffs, the bowl games would become meaningless. I think meaningless to who? Pretty much a lot of different programs, but it's good to see Alabama not playing in the playoffs, but still having these guys wanting to finish what they started. So, as when an official announcement comes out regarding Jalen Milroe declaring for the NFL draft, obviously after the Reliaquest Bowl, we'll talk about it right here on Bama Football on YouTube. But I figured that would be a good place to start, considering every single time we have a show, everybody's always asking, is Milroe coming back? What's the latest on Milroe? Well, there you go. Playing in the Reliaquest Bowl and then going to declare for the NFL draft. At least those are the expectations, okay? I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for being here today on Bama Football on YouTube. I was wearing a patch I got this weekend rather. It's a F3 200 posts. I'm in the 200 post club, and what that means is I was able to through commitment, fellowship, brotherhood, I went to F3 workouts this year, fitness, faith, and fellowship 200 times. It's waking up 200 times at 4:30 in the morning to get to workout. So really proud of the guys that are in that group, and it's always special to me. That's why I'm always talking about F3. So look for F3 in your area. It's free, fitness, faith, fellowship, and always working on those components in my life. And a lot of things that I wanted to do is be consistent this year. So I think that definitely spills into the work. So college football news as we talk about it. I appreciate it. Olive Branch Nation, what's up, man? Appreciate you being here. You know it's F3, man. Yeah, absolutely. College football news. This is just out this morning. Mike Norvell of Florida State donating $4.5 million of his own salary to the University of Florida State. Seminoles' effort in rising expenses. As you know, there's a House settlement that is going to mandate Division I programs to share up to $20.5 million with the university, right? So you're starting to see this a lot. Brian Kelly, we saw this recently of LSU, right? Starting to a match contribution clause with LSU, and you have Mike Norvell kind of restructuring his contract or donating it, whatever you want to say. Look, this is going to happen in 2025. I don't know if it's supposed to happen in July of 2025. I think it'll happen closer to the football season. But anyway, this is the new world of college athletics. So $20 million is going to have to go to the students. It's a rev share agreement. It's already happening. So Mike Norvell, kind of one of the first guys on board. And as we continue, I'm sure he's not going to be the only one. I mean, Brian Kelly. I'm kind of curious of Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State, if that's what happened to him as well. Chris Waltman, what's up, man? I see you inside the comment box. Jeff, Javion, Michael, what's up, man? I appreciate you guys being here. Good morning to everybody up inside the comment box. But yeah, that's a lot of money. That's NIL money. And yeah, considering the season he had, I mean, that's probably the least that he could do, right? Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy. What'd you guys think about Travis Hunter winning the Heisman Trophy? 1,300 yards receiving, 31 pass breakups. Look, a fun guy to watch, absolutely, because of the two-way players. If you played sports and if you played high school, you played college, or you played NFL, you got to have respect in terms of a guy that goes both ways, especially at college. I mean, they're talking about the Division I level, playing every single snap pretty much on each side of the football, whether that be a defensive back or a wide receiver, and it looks like he's going to be one of the top picks in the NFL draft. And that's something that Coach Prime can flex on. And I'm sure he's talking to his guys that he speaks to and has in-house in Boulder, is that he's going to have a top 5 guy. 2 of them really go to the NFL, his son, Shedeur Sanders, and then Travis Hunter going in the NFL. And then I was thinking about this. I know a lot of people feel that Ashton Jeanty out of Boise should have won the award. I felt if I had a vote, I'd be voting for Travis Hunter. I like the two-way. I don't know. I like the two-way players. Those are who I'm playing with, like on NCAA football. I just have respect for those guys, whatever. Ashton Jeanty, a very good running back. Then I started thinking about this, all right? I was thinking about who's your favorite Heisman Trophy winner inside the comment box. So you got Mark Ingram, 2009, Derrick Henry, 2015, Devontae Smith, 2020, Bryce Young in 2021. Go ahead and vote inside the comment box for your favorite Heisman Trophy winner. Robert, what's up, man? Robert's out in Ohio. Man, that's what's up, man. You might be close to Justice Haynes. We'll talk about where some of these guys in the transfer portal are thinking about going. You know, when I look at the Heisman list, I covered 2 Heismans during my time covering the Alabama Crimson Tide. You know, Derrick Henry a little bit before my time. I got here in 2017, and same thing with Mark Ingram. You know, I know not on this list, but when I talk to people that are from here, that played here, people from Alabama, and I ask them, like, who is the best running back? It's not, I promise you, this is what they tell me. They're like, as much as Mark Ingram did and Derrick Henry and all the great Alabama running backs, the one running back that was their favorite and say that was most dominating on the field was Trent Richardson. So I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but when I talk to people, they're like, yo, like Trent Richardson was absolutely different. For me, when I'm looking at this list, I go with Smitty. I've spoken about this many times. He's one of my favorite players all time here at Alabama. He didn't have the most electrifying interviews. It was a man, a few words, and still is in the NFL. But I love the fact, like, his mentality. It said so much about who he was, and kind of that was part of Saban. That's who he is. That's hard work. That's old school. That's that blue collar mentality that breeds success, right? Staying after practice, showing up early at practice. And then the guy came back when he could have left, and he came back after all those wide receivers, and he had an electrifying season. The other thing about it was nobody dressed like Smitty. Whoever was dressing him, I think he had like a personal tailor from Louisiana, but this velvet suit, remember this? Do you remember this velvet suit? Yo, that was like the drip of all drip. So anyways, I'll probably vote C. And then, of course, Bryce Young had a really stellar year and then being drafted number 1. The only player ever from Alabama to be drafted number 1, his Carolina Panthers came up short against the Dallas Cowboys yesterday. You know, I had a feeling to start Cooper Rush, the Dallas Cowboys backup in my fantasy football league. It was between him and Will Levis. And at the last minute, I put in Rush, and Rush ended up having a pretty decent game. I also had, because it's a super flex league, so you have two quarterbacks. I had Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, 42 points yesterday, absolutely killing it. Bama Pete, what's up? I see you inside the comment box. Danny is saying, hands down, Derrick Henry. Atlanta Living and Beyond said, love Bryce. And Micah Newton saying, Jot. What's up, man? I appreciate everybody up in the house on Bama Football on YouTube. As we talk transfer portal news, and I know that's why you're here and you want to talk about transfers coming in, probably not so much about the transfers going out, but we cover news as it happens here on Bama Football on YouTube. 332 up in the house. I appreciate you guys. If you could just hit the thumbs up on this video. I have no idea, but it helps the video's performance. It helps me as a content creator. That's the only time that I'll ask that. So just please hit the thumbs up on this video. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys being fan funders, as well as the super chats as well. So here's kind of an overview, a snapshot of the transfer portal tracker. And these are guys who have entered the transfer portal from the University of Alabama, okay? And I think tomorrow what I'm going to do, and I know I've been talking about this for a little bit, is do a comparison analysis to LSU, Georgia, and maybe Ohio State and teams in terms of their transfers compared to Alabama. Because I think when you look, if you look at this graphic, or if you were just to like, if you don't follow the transfer portal in college football, you're like, oh my goodness, all these guys are leaving. There's a lot of guys leaving. There was a lot of guys that left last year, but there's a lot of guys that are leaving from all these other schools. So be patient if you're new to the show or if you're new to the transfer portal. Like, this is common. Is it good? I don't know. I mean, there's maybe a couple guys on here that I wish would stay for 2025, but I don't think there's like one guy here that's leaving. You're like, oh my goodness. Like, I'll tell you, like, list one person inside the comment box that's on the roster. Like, if they left, it would be like devastating. Like Ryan Williams, if he hit the transfer portal, oh my goodness. Like, okay. Caden Proctor. Let's see, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, think of this could be a lot worse than what it's looking like. Now, Devontae Smith leaving as an upperclassman, that one kind of caught me by surprise. I wish Caleb Odom would stay. Justice Haynes, I get it. He needs more carries. He can go somewhere else. We'll talk about him in a minute. But no one on this board is like, I'm like, oh man, this is so terrible. Like, I'm bummed about a couple of them, but I get where a couple of them are coming from. And maybe some of these guys are probably being processed out. And hear me out on this. I think that sometimes just because they've been passed up, it might be a better fit for them somewhere else. Like, for example, Jalil Hurley. It seems like a better fit for him to play at Kansas than here in Tuscaloosa. You see what I'm saying? Like, I feel that with the defensive backs coming back, whether Damani Jackson comes back or not, like, was Jalil Hurley going to beat out Jalen Mbakwe? Was he going to beat out Xavier Brown? I don't think so. Is he going to compete maybe for the Husky position? I guess so. But Keanu Coate, he's not going to beat out Quay this coming year. Now, you need him for depth. I like his game personally. But you have Yanzi. You have Justin Hill coming in, right? Noah Carter in development. So, I mean, not really a guy in here that I'm like, oh, man, this is crazy. Even though I think the hardest one to deal with so far was Justice Haynes, just because we like him as a group, but the running back room is so healthy, it's not that big of a loss, as we've spoken about many times. Here's a different graphic with kind of the transfer stamps and kind of list the players by position. So in terms of transfer portal targets, you have a couple new ones that we can talk about, and I'm sure you follow your recruiting sites and you're caught up to speed. If you're not, we'll walk you through it. I see. I think we have one edit that we have to do real quick, but there's several guys that are coming into town this week that are worth noting. And I think a good place to start out with is just kind of an overview of, I don't have T in the house today, so I'm doing all the editing, which is fine. All right, so we'll start up top and we do Cody Hardy. He's a new prospect to keep watch on. He'll be in town this week. Just got done visiting Auburn. He's out of Elon, and a tight end that Alabama needs. Now, look, he doesn't have a lot of production, but he's a bigger tight end starting up at the top. 6'5", 271 pounds. And look, I would imagine that Alabama wants a bigger tight end to come in to be an added blocker in their offense, right? Think of like a Robbie Oots, who got a lot of playing time this year, but not a lot of receptions. And I feel that Alabama has been looking to bring in a tight end. As you saw, they went after, who was it? Luke Haas out of Arkansas, right? Ended up committing to Ole Miss. And then they're also looking at Nate Bowriker out of Nebraska. But they want to bring in another tight end. And as I've showed on roster management with Robbie Oots, CJ Dupree, and Danny Lewis hitting the transfer portal, you need another guy to come in. We all like Josh Cuevas. Josh Cuevas is going to be the playmaker tight end for Alabama. And we saw a little bit of him this year. And I think he can be more of a dynamic tight end if he gets even more receptions in 2025. But you probably need a blocker type tight end. So that's why Alabama looking at Cody Hardy out of Elon right now. So we'll keep you posted on that. He is going to visit this week. You also have a new name to know is Kahlee Tafai. So this is and we're kind of cruising on down right here, but Tafai is an offensive lineman out of Washington. He is visiting this week as well. 6'5", 338 pounds, 286 snaps in 2023. And the interesting thing about Tafai is he can play either guard or tackle, kind of similar to what Alabama was looking at with Patrick Kutas, right, from Arkansas. I think you need a lineman to come in to that right tackle position or guard. And I have no idea what's going to happen with Michael Carroll. If he's going to be able to start as a freshman, if Jaden Roberts, if Geno Vandermark, if one of those guys can kind of up their game at the guard position or the right tackle position. I'm not overly concerned, but I think Alabama is really vetting, and they don't want to overpay for one of these linemen, but they need to feel really good about bringing in a right tackle. I would imagine that there's a right tackle out there that they'll eventually get their hands on, and if that tackle fits this offense, then I think they get super aggressive on it. I don't know how aggressive they've been with some of these guys, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of excitement clearly about Casey Concepcion, but look, if he wants to go somewhere else, is it really a loss to Alabama's wide receiver room? I would argue no, it's really not. I mean, I think he has a really good game, but it's if he didn't come here, I don't think it would be like anything dramatic to worry about. You also have Mario Craver. Now, yesterday I said Carver. I apologize about that. His name is Mario Craver. He's out of Mississippi State. I believe he's visiting actually today from Stark Vegas. He's 5'9", 160 pounds. Probably a familiar name to you here in Alabama because he was teammates with Jalen Milroe. That's kind of the connection. This past season, 17 receptions for 368 yards with 3 touchdowns. He's a burner. And, it's been interesting to me that Alabama's been actively recruiting receivers, right? Because I feel pretty confident about Alabama's receiver room. But I think they're going after a slot type receiver. I mean, Casey Concepcion, he's going to be that slot receiver. I think Mario Craver, if he comes in, he would be a slot type wide receiver. So, and Jordan mentions as well, Miami just had a wide receiver hit the transfer portal as well. I feel good about Alabama's wide receiver room, even if they don't get a guy, but they've actively been recruiting a wide receiver. I see there's a question on Ty Haywood inside the comment box from Coach Al Sanders. Coach, what's up, man? I appreciate you being here. I was talking about that yesterday with T about Ty Haywood. Ty Haywood, he's going to sign in February. And if you're like, who is that? Well, he's a 5-star tackle out of Texas. And there's been a lot of people that say that he's not going to sign in this class, but he still hasn't decommitted from Alabama, to my knowledge. I think Michigan's probably in play. So haven't really been, tracking that because I think it's just wait and see what happens. But if they get Ty Haywood, that would be talk about a cherry on top, because you got, at the end of the day, Derek Meadows, right? It was the last prospect to sign in that class of 2025. But Ty Haywood, I don't know. I mean, never say never. Recruiting is crazy to track, but I'm I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Other guys on the board, Kelby Collins was just here. He's a defensive lineman, a bandit position player that I think you absolutely need. As you see, 2 players crossed off. Lucas from Arkansas, tight end, committed to Ole Miss, and then Patrick Cuttis going to Arkansas and then committing to Ole Miss as well. Coach Kiffin works the transfer portal. Maybe he needed those players a little bit more. I don't know if it's like Alabama is getting outbid or Alabama's broke. I don't think that's the case at all. I think that maybe Alabama just isn't being aggressive enough in terms of if Alabama really wants to press down, they'll get somebody, but they're not going to absolutely overpay, I don't think, but who knows? I mean, maybe they are. Maybe Ole Miss has a ton of cash. I don't know. I would imagine all SEC schools do. So we talked about Cody Carty being in, Kahlee Tafai coming in from Washington. That makes sense because Coach DeBoer was over there. I don't know. I mean, doesn't have the best Pro Football Focus grades. That doesn't always tell the story. So here are some prospects on the board. Again, I think we're just trying to vet and to see which players are in and out of the transfer portal. We'll keep you posted if any significant news comes in, but I'm not like, oh my goodness, I'm worried about the transfer portal. And I'll tell you what, out of all these guys, and if Alabama hasn't gotten a tight end or an offensive lineman or someone on defense just yet, just be patient and have faith in this recruiting class from 2025. When we talk about roster management here, and when I show you the graphics of what are things are going to look like next year, you can go through pretty much every single position and we can understand the starters. The only place that I'm really concerned about is the right tackle position, maybe defensive line, but there's guys who can return as well. So if you're out there and you're freaking out because Alabama doesn't have a transfer, I don't know if there's really been a transfer slam dunk hire to get. Do you guys agree with that? Who has Alabama really missed out on in terms of the transfer portal yet? I don't think anybody. BJS is like Elon Musk. Derek Wilson, what's up, man? I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for joining the show. Jay Bake, what's up, man? I see you. And Byron Russell, what's going on, man? In other transfer portal news, right? Where are these players going that have hit the transfer portal from Alabama, or where could they go, right? Yeah, the most interesting thing to me so far on this graphic is Dylan Lonergan and Justice Haynes, where those guys could end up. I don't think this is going to happen, but it is interesting to think about with Dylan Lonergan visiting Georgia. I think that he'll probably end up in the ACC. Boston College, Syracuse would be a wonderful spot for Dylan Lonergan. I think if Dylan Lonergan goes to Syracuse and if he's a starter in that offense, he'll throw for 4,000 yards, right? Talk about production. If he goes to Boston College, he's working with Bill O'Brien, right? What's up, Corey Cox? Corey Cox is there are some targets in the portal that are studs, but we are just not trying to get them. I don't understand it. Yeah, Corey, I appreciate that, man. I've been wondering about the transfer portal strategy as well. But as I was saying, based on the guys that are coming back in that recruiting class, they have a really good nucleus returning. So maybe I don't know how many guys they're going to bring in from the portal. Would you say, because you got to look at the roster numbers too. How close are they to 85, right? So if you sit down and put the numbers in, I don't know if they can bring in 5 transfer portal guys. They might bring in the best transfer portal guy on the board or 2 of them, and maybe that's it. I don't know. And then also, you still don't know who's leaving from Alabama because Alabama's transfer portal end date is January 5th. So guys could still leave from Alabama. I mean, the transfer portal date is supposed to close December 28th, but because of where Alabama's bowl game is, now it's January 5th. You imagine Dylan Lonergan this would be college football is off the rails and the storylines are crazy. I was just reading this story. I don't even know if it's true about Ole Miss. One of their quarterbacks was dating Lane Kiffin's daughter. Did you see this? And he transferred out because they broke up. the college football storylines are so dramatic. So I was thinking about this. What if Dylan Lonergan transfers to Georgia, right? Somehow wins the starting spot and battles Ty Simpson next year, whoever the hell the quarterback is, right? Like, that is crazy. Then I was thinking, so Alabama would have to face, I don't know, Dylan Lonergan, let's say, or whoever the quarterback is for Georgia. Then a couple weeks later, when they go to the Haunted Barn, they would play Jackson Arnold, the guy who beat them last year from Oklahoma. See what I'm saying? This is crazy. All of the names that are circulating between here and there is crazy. I would imagine, though, that Lonergan probably goes to ACC. Justice Haynes, new schools in the mix, Ole Miss and South Carolina. I think that could be, Ole Miss. I could see him going to Ole Miss. Absolutely. And I think that Michigan, that would be interesting, I guess, just because of the fact that played a little bit of Michigan in the Rose Bowl. Ohio State seems to make the most sense. He would probably get the most coin there. Who knows? But it will be interesting 100% to see him go to any of those schools. What if he goes to South Carolina? Alabama plays South Carolina next season in Columbia. Jaheim Otis, I guess he's been predicted to go to Ole Miss. Caleb Odom visiting Colorado among several other schools. Jalil Hurley committed to Kansas. Keanu Coke committed to Vanderbilt. Miles McVay's been linked to North Carolina and Illinois. I don't know who the quarterback is for North Carolina, but that'll be an interesting experiment with Bill Belichick, right, going to North Carolina. And who knows? I still feel that Bill Belichick will end up in the NFL. If I was a college prospect, yeah, I'd be excited about going to North Carolina. But I think that he's an NFL guy. He's 72. I think he'll spend 6 months, this 6-month period of him when he just started, he'll get to see how off the rails that college football is. And I think he'll just be like, yo, this is absolutely ridiculous. And he'll bounce to the NFL. Just my take. There's been a couple other players. Have you seen this? Other players in the transfer portal from Alabama, but this is like the second time they've been going into the portal. I think 31%. XRP, what's up, man? I appreciate you being here. Byron, what's going on? Rich B, good morning to you. 31% of the players in the transfer portal have been in the transfer portal before. This is crazy. Like, I figured Jake Pope wouldn't stay there. I mean, would you stay somewhere if someone called you an idiot? Were his actions warranted to be called an idiot? Yeah, probably. You don't celebrate after you lost. You run to the locker room. But Jake Pope back in the transfer portal after leaving Alabama to Georgia. Who knows where he'll go? Another guy is JoJo Earl. JoJo Earl. I like JoJo Earl. I thought he was good. I still remember the hit that Jake Pope put on Jermaine Burton for the spring game. Hey, XRP, I appreciate you becoming a fan funder. Thank you so much. Kevin, inside with the super chat. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate the continued support, man. Hope everything's well with you, Kevin. I appreciate it, man. I know you got that dog mentality out there. Yeah, I saw JoJo Earl. And then another one, too, was Damian George, right? Right tackle here. Hits the portal. Look, Alex, I wouldn't be mad if they brought JoJo Earl back. I really wouldn't. Some of the other guys, but if JoJo Earl came back, or what if he's not going to, but like Aaron Anderson, those are the type of players that Alabama is needing with that slot position wide receiver, right? Man, there's so much news that has happened. I have my phone, I have all these alerts set up. So every time I see something, it's crazy. All these commitments and all this stuff going on. December is the busiest month. Absolutely. Oh, heads up. I'm going to New Mexico on Thursday, but I'll still have my normal show and videos scheduled. I'll just be reporting to you from New Mexico. I go to New Mexico. Actually, I was just there about a month ago. It was my grandfather's funeral. He passed away peacefully at the age of 84. But I always go back for the holidays. So if you're new to the channel, this is something that is common. I go back. I see my mom, my dad. That's where I'm from. I grew up in Santa Fe. So if anyone's ever been from Santa Fe, or to Santa Fe rather, that's where I am. Roll Tide Cloudcroft is absolutely beautiful. Cloudcroft is in southern New Mexico. Been there many times. Before I moved to Tuscaloosa, I ran a business in New Mexico where I covered high school football. So I would travel around New Mexico interviewing the top high school football prospects in New Mexico. And I went everywhere. I'm talking like from Farmington down to Artesia, Jail, New Mexico, Las Cruces, Silver City, Clayton, you name it. I've been there. And now I'm covering college football, and I have been for the last 8 years. I do live here in Tuscaloosa. So yeah, a couple other guys just in the portal. We're going to continue to see that. That's part of the dig, right? I appreciate it, man. The Reliaquest Bowl. As we talk about the upcoming bowl for Alabama, which will be on December 31st in Tampa, Florida, you have Coach Jalen Milroe taking on Sharon Moore. Now, it's I don't know if you call this like a revenge game for Alabama against Michigan. You could if you wanted to. I'd rather see it as a way to. I don't really look at it as a revenge game. I know Coach Jalen Milroe was beaten by Michigan, in the title game, and Alabama lost last year to Rose Bowl. But I think the most important thing going into this bowl game is to put a positive end cap on this season. I feel that Oklahoma game really left a bad taste in our mouth, and then not making the playoffs, this and that. So I do like the fact that the captains are playing in this game. So give these guys an opportunity to end the year on a positive note and give this program, and most importantly, Coach Jalen Milroe, some positive energy going into 2025. Now, I'm going to show you a graphic that kind of showcases Alabama players who are draft eligible that are playing in this bowl game compared to Michigan. And there's a big difference. I mean, Alabama hasn't had any player that is opted out. Sure, they have guys who are hitting the transfer portal that won't be playing in this game, but you don't have any significant players that have opted out of this game. And I think that does say a lot still about the culture and the overall brand that exists within Alabama. I see a lot of you have been out to New Mexico. Barry, what's up? I see you inside the comment box, man. Go over to Golden Pride and help yourself to a wonderful burrito for sure, man. That's the thing to me. What's interesting is like over here in Alabama, I tell everybody like most of the gas stations in New Mexico have like a breakfast burrito bar like attached to them, right? If you or like in Lubbock, I have some relatives in Lubbock. If you go to like Stripes, there's literally like a breakfast burrito bar, or like some dude who just popped out of like a federal prison and he's cooking up like the best, steak and potato burrito you've ever had, right? Here's kind of a snapshot of the two teams. So Jalen Milroe, 2,600 yards. Looks like Warren has 1,100 yards passing. Milroe, 15 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. And this will be, look, the way that Milroe ended the season just wasn't it, right? 3 touchdowns, 9 interceptions on the back end of the season. Another opportunity for him to just play the final game here, go to the NFL, put a cap on, be like, I beat these guys, I beat Michigan, and I'm out of here. You look to up-and-coming players that continue to be on the rise, like a Ryan Williams. What type of a game will he have? Jam Miller, Richard Young, guys who will get new opportunities because players at the transfer portal. Somebody asked me recently, what will the wide receivers look like in terms of the bowl game? And I thought that was an interesting question because you still have Jeremy Bernard playing. You still have Ryan Williams. So those are going to be the focal points. But in terms of like who else will get on the field, well, I would imagine that we see more Emmanuel Henderson, right? Maybe you get to see a little bit more Rico Scott just because of some injuries. Who else are you thinking about seeing from the wide receiver room based on the transfers out? Nobody talks about Jaron Hamilton, right? Jaron Hamilton will be here as well. Here's a graphic of the players upcoming. Let me read off these quotes. I forgot I added these. So JS Webb, there was several players, and I'm glad you put that inside the comment box. There were several players this year that graduated from Alabama. Milroe actually graduated with his master's degree. So congratulations to him. There was a couple other guys that got their master's degree as well this past year. So props to Milroe for getting his master's. And Angel saying Jalen Hell. Now, for those of you out there, Jalen Hell, he's not going to play in the Reliaquest Bowl, but he is on track to be healthy for 2025. When Jahad Campbell, who's serving in as a captain for Deontay Lawson, who's out, was asked about, why are you playing in this game? And he was like, there's no discussion. This is what I love to do. I have a passion for it. I have a competitive nature. I cannot play. And for those of us who have that competitive spirit, like, I would never sit out of anything. Like, I love to compete at the highest level, right? And that's why I was so disappointed the other night. I never seen this too. The NFL, as you know, I watched the NFL and I follow the 49ers. There was a player for the 49ers who didn't earn the starting spot. Coach Kyle Shanahan put him, you guys see this? Put him into the game. And he's like, nah, I ain't playing. I don't feel like playing. Like, the entitlement that, like, how could you not play in a game? Now, I guess on the other side of the coin, if you talk to your agent and they're like, hey, you know, you don't need to play this game because it has a lot to do with your draft grade, maybe that's on the other side of the coin. But look, the guys who did it right were Bryce Young. I'll never forget this, and I'll always talk about this on my show forever. Bryce Young and William Anderson, when those guys came out and played against Kansas State in the Sugar Bowl, that's how you finish. That's the standard. And those guys Bryce didn't have to play. He went number 1 in the NFL draft, and he went number 3. I think sometimes, and from what I've heard that not playing in a bowl game is actually a red flag. Kind of maybe like you have a locker room type issue. Maybe. Just what I've heard. Damani Jackson, another player we're tracking, he said, look, I'm just focused on Michigan right now. And that's why we wouldn't have an update from Jalen Milroe at this point in time. You know, none of the players have announced their decision. None of them. Here's a look who's playing in the bowl game. I just threw this graphic together quickly, but it kind of shows you the Alabama non-opt-outs. All these guys could go to the NFL. We're waiting on updates from them, right? But like Milroe's playing, Jam Miller's playing or expected to play, Jeremy Bernard expected to play, Tyler Booker expected to play, Jaden Roberts, LT Overton, Deontay Lawson. Deontay Lawson obviously injured. Jaha Campbell, I need to fix his name right there, and Damani Jackson. Michigan opt-outs, you have several of them, right? Donovan Edwards, I just saw this one. He's the running back. He's on the game of NCAA football, and he's opting out of the bowl game. You see what I'm saying? Colston Loveland, a very good tight end. Mason Graham, and then Will Johnson. All those guys, they are quitting, in my opinion, before this game. So, look, it might be a glorified scrimmage or whatever. It's another opportunity for you to do things right, end the season right? Early enrollees. This is another thing to get excited about. And I kind of, when I think about early enrollees and how crazy college football is, I still will never forget last year when we went out to the Rose Bowl. We go out and practicing was Julian Sain. He was practicing with Alabama. Remember, we had like all this video, first look at Julian Sain. And I remember, like, I didn't take my big camera. I took my phone. So everybody's recording on their phone. And Julian Sain has some pretty good footwork. Comes back. And after Saban, he transferred. I'd never seen that before. Like a freshman who early enrolled and then transferred out, right? So here's a look at the early enrollees. There's a couple that will be able to participate in the bowl game for Alabama. So let's go on the left. And these are the guys that are going to be able to participate. Daryl Duke Johnson, Ivan Taylor, and Luke Metz. Okay. So you have these guys right here that will be able to participate in this upcoming bowl game, which is pretty cool. I can't even imagine graduating high school, moving to Tuscaloosa, and then getting on a plane and going to Tampa to get ready to play. Like, what an honor. That's amazing to me. January 2025, these are the guys that will be early enrollees as well. And there's a whole list of them. Abdul Sanders, linebacker. A.K. Deer, running back. Alex Osbroff, who's a punter, right, out of California. Dejon Lee, Jackson Lloyd, Justin Hill, Keelan Russell. By the way, what was your take on Keelan Russell in this playoff game? His team lost. Guy balled out. I know Jarvis watched it. Was anybody able to watch Keelan Russell the other day? Well, I think it was Saturday night. Cavante Henry, London Simmons, Latsier Brooks need to fix that. Maul Waldrip, Michael DeBose, Michael Karras, Steve Ambua, and then Chuck McDonald and Caleb Edwards. So those are the guys that will be early enrolling. Roll Tide with a $9.99 super chat inside the comment box says, forgive me, changing topics, but do you have either of the coordinators will leave or be replaced? So I think, no, I don't. I think that when you're looking at the coordinators for the University of Alabama, I think they have absolutely a right to be criticized. I mean, there was, it wasn't perfect. Look, let me ask you this, and maybe this is a hot take, but I feel, and I wasn't 100% happy with Nick Sheridan. I wasn't. At times, honestly, I felt he was a little bit smug. That was just my take. He seemed a little bit arrogant for being able just to come in here as a tight end coach, and maybe that's just how he came off. I don't know. And then some of the things that he did schematically, it didn't make sense to me, specifically in the red zone. There was a lot of issues that I had in the red zone. But I think I like him. And let me ask you this. Who's a better OC? Tommy Rees or Nick Sheridan? Tommy Rees or Nick Sheridan? I think Nick Sheridan's better. Now, who's better of those guys? Think about the last 3 OCs here. It's been going down, in my opinion. You have Bill O'Brien, Tommy Rees, Nick Sheridan. Maybe Nick Sheridan kind of going up a little bit. The thing was, it was supposed to go up with Ryan Grubb. I saw someone said that, people talking about Ryan Grubb. I don't know if he's coming, he's gonna be added to the list of guys that Alabama fans want to come, right? See, Sean, I know. I think Nick Sheridan by just like a first down is better than Tommy Rees. You see what I'm saying? I need to fix these graphics on this side. Give me 1 second. I think that's it. But I don't know. I mean, maybe Reese was the worst. People didn't like Bill O'Brien. They just didn't like the guy. Everything was Bill O'Brien. The worst hated guys was nobody will ever be hated more than Pete Golding. And we kind of had like this love and hate with Kane Womack. The reason I ended up liking Kane Womack kind of more towards the end of the season is because of how many turnovers Alabama's defense was able to get, right? Like they were like 4th in the nation in forcing turnovers. He got turnovers for sure. And I felt that the secondary played a little bit better in the back end of the season. Now, the Oklahoma game could piss you off on the offense or the defensive side. It's like it made you mad on both fronts. So, and the other thing you could argue too, 1,000,000% is Nick Sheridan, was basically handicapped by the quarterback that he had, right? Because they were running the offense based off Jalen Milroe's overall ability. That's it. So can we give him year 2 with a different quarterback? I think this is what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to go and give each of these guys another year and see, most importantly, I think more eyes will be on Nick Sheridan. Well, just hear me out. I know people want these guys to go, but I think more eyes will be on Sheridan with a new quarterback. And I think more eyes were on the defense this year because Kane Womack completely restructured the defense, right? The coaches that Alabama fans want most, okay? They want Bo Davis, okay? They want Bo Davis. Oh, God. They want Jeremy Pruitt. They want Jeremy Pruitt so bad. Scott Cochran, right? And I guess like low key would be interested to have Ryan Grubb come run the offense. Sean, what's up, man? From our understanding, reports are out. You can follow Alex Scarborough on 24/7. He tweeted it out this morning. But Jalen Milroe expected to announce for the NFL after the bowl game. I think that's been the assumption of pretty much all the team reporters. There's a lot of fake news out there. I would stay close to like your recruiting sites, your team sites. I'm sure you already do, but those are the coaches that Alabama want back. The coaches that they don't want back is number 1, Pete Golding, right? Ron G, what's up, man? I appreciate you being here. Look, Scott Cochran's going through a lot in his life. He's on a rebound as he's in recovery. He's been open about his recovery process, and thoughts and prayers to everybody who is going through a recovery process in their life. Scott Cochran, I mean, what he did for Alabama and what he done overall. You think about it. This guy, how many national championships does he have? 8? Is it 8? Right? Because he had 6 here and then 2 with Georgia. I think it's like 6 or 8. He was the guy, man. He was the guy on the sideline, and he was kind of like that energy. And I feel that kind of looking at Alabama's sideline this year, and I guess last year, but more this year. Did you see this as well? I haven't seen. This has been the first year, and Scott Cochran's been gone for a while, but this was the first year that there was a lot of TV shots to the sideline of like Alabama having low energy. Now, the energy will be up when they would get a turnover, and, the pictures are dope and whatever. But, like, it kind of seemed, I don't know, kind of low-key energy. Maybe I was reading too much into it. I don't know. Let's go over some roster management real quick on the back end of the show. I appreciate you guys being here. Kyle Anderson, Bama Football on YouTube. Appreciate you guys being here. Remember, please take a minute to hit the subscription button, so you are notified every single time we go live. There's a lot of news, and if it's significant news, we're going to go live with it, whether I'm at the airport, whether I'm here at my studio. The last couple of times, and this doesn't happen often, but I've been here at the studio. When news has happened, I've been literally like at my desk working on stuff, and then boom, news happens, I'll be able to go. That's not always the case. So sometimes, specifically now that I'll be traveling, expect to see me, on my phone, in the car, in a plane. You want some news to drop? Get me on an airplane, okay? That's when things go crazy. Appreciate you guys being here, and I hope you're having an amazing day. Thank you so much for joining me today. Here's a look at the quarterback room real quick. We'll fly through these because we've been showing these a couple times, but I just want you to have an understanding of the roster management. And if you see anything out there that maybe stands out to you, or there needs to be something that's changed, please let me know inside the comment box. I'm responsible for the graphics, so something might be, out of place or whatever. Let me know. No big deal. We'll fix it. We'll come back with it on our next show. Jeffrey Elliott inside the comment box is asking for any news on Jeremy Bernard. Jeffrey, I appreciate you being here. No news on Jeremy Bernard as of yet. I'm going to show a graphic that shows you the wide receiver room in just a second. But in terms of Jeremy Bernard, and I think like most of these guys who are draft eligible, they are going to play in the bowl game, finish that chapter of this season, and then after that, I think that's when we are going to see all of the announcements. So, January 1 through January 5th or whatever, that's when we're going to start to figure out which players are going to the NFL and which players are coming back, right? So, yeah, and as X says inside the comment box, most of the time, no news is good news. I appreciate it. Alex is asking, Kyle, what will be ranked in the spring? I'm thinking 10. I don't know. I hope like 15. Seriously. I hope like out of the rankings, because sometimes that can catapult you in the off season, be like, hey, we're ranked 15. We have work to do, because as Coach Saban said, that's reverse rat poison, right? Here's the quarterback room. As you know, Dylan Lonergan hit the transfer portal, visiting Georgia, other schools in play, Boston College, Syracuse, as we spoke about. Ty Simpson, clearly the favorite to be the starter. You also have Austin Mack and Keelan Russell, who will be getting here in January. Larry Large, any truth about Malik Murphy coming to Bama? I haven't seen that yet. We'll dive into it, and if there is, we'll bring that to you later on today, or we'll bring it tomorrow. But I appreciate you bringing that here, Larry Large, and I hope you're off to a really good start on Monday. Here's a running back room for Alabama, clearly really healthy, even despite the transfer out of Justice Haynes, Jam Miller, Richard Young. I think the combo of these two, you'll start to see it a little bit against Michigan. What do you need to do to beat Michigan? Everybody say it together. 1, 2, 3. Run the ball. So I think those are the keys to beating Michigan, right? And, of course, hitting Ryan Williams for like an 80-yard touchdown. The Alabama tight end room, this is what it looks like going into 2025. So in terms of bringing in Cody Hardy from Elon just to visit, or looking at some other guys like a Nate Bowriker from Nebraska, you need a tight end to come. The playmaker, you know what? The playmaker's already here. It's Josh Cuevas. The guys, he can play, okay? And I think he can play in this offense. And you saw a little bit of that this year, right? So they need I guess what they want is a more experienced tight end, a bigger tight end. You're missing Robbie Oots, right? And think about it. This Cody Hardy, he's like 270 pounds. That's the same size as Robbie Oots. So that might be telling you they just need an H-back. But again, I wouldn't sweat it if they don't get any of these tight ends. Like, let's just wait and see what happens. The Alabama wide receiver room, what it could look like for 2025 is like this. Jeremy Bernard, we put a stamp on players that we don't know if they're going to come back or go to the NFL. So I just put a stamp on here that says NFL ? But Ryan Williams, Emmanuel Henderson, Rico Scott, Cole Adams, Jaron Hamilton, Jalen Hell, Bubba Hampton. I think Bubba Hampton is still injured. He was seen a couple practices ago leaving on crutches. We haven't got an update on that on him. And these are the graduation years for 2025. So if you're looking for 2024, just subtract the graduation year. But I've said this many times. I've talked about this to T. I don't want Ryan Williams to grow up, right? I don't want him to grow up. Amari Jefferson, Ladzier Brooks, and Derek Meadows coming in as well, right? See, that's what I'm saying. And Daniel, I completely agree. That's why I'm not really stressing like the KC Concepcion. It's like, and even if he comes in here, is he going to be number one? No. Is he going to be number two? Maybe. Is he going to be number three? Probably more likely. And I think if you're him, he wants to maybe be that number one guy. So I'm fine if, I could see like a Craver coming in just to add a little bit of depth, maybe at that Y position, the Y position to the slot position player. But I don't know. I like Cole Adams. But I don't know. It seems like Alabama wants an H to come in. Maybe that'll be Ladzier Brooks. Who knows? I don't. Courtney Morgan said that with the ball in his hands, he's absolutely dangerous. Ladzier Brooks he made ESPN twice. Think about that. Alabama offensive line, when we go next year, this is the biggest area of concern right now. And something that, I'm not getting overly concerned with the transfer portal right now. But I think that here's a transfer portal prediction right here. So Miami wide receiver Isaiah Horton has been predicted to, I guess, commit to Alabama. Horton was ranked as a 4-star in the class of 2022. Have you guys seen this? Isaiah Horton? It looks like this is just coming out. All right, let's do a little detail real quick on Isaiah Horton. You guys stay with me. Who has seen this out there? Isaiah Horton. It's literally just out. There's another good recruit site on X if you're following all these guys. But it's just Recruit Bama. They do a lot of good stuff too. So Isaiah, who is it? Isaiah Horton. We'll bring him up on ESPN. So he's a Miami Hurricanes wide receiver transfer. 6'4", 205 pounds. I'll show this on the screen real quick. All right, so Isaiah Horton is the wide receiver that has been predicted to commit to the Alabama Crimson Tide. When will this happen? I have no idea, but 6'4", 205 pounds. We'll look at his game log real quick. This past season, pretty productive wide receiver, right? 56 receptions, 616 yards. He has the size that we like. It seems to me like Coach Kalen DeBoer is also going for some wide receivers that are a little bit taller, right? You have, I'm trying to look at his game. Against Cal, he had 9 receptions for 83 yards. Against Florida, 4 for 70. Against Florida, against Ball State. So I don't know. This is interesting to me. I like this. Okay. So keep tabs on this. Isaiah Horton has been predicted to commit to Alabama. Taller wide receiver. You know me. I like taller wide receivers. Jake is saying that On3 is saying Justice is going to Ole Miss. Has been predicted to Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, that kind of, Alabama and Ole Miss don't play each other again. But in terms of, Justice going to Ole Miss, I don't know how I feel about that. All right, so keep tabs on it. Isaiah Horton looks like to be the next, wide receiver or the first commitment for the transfer portal, right? So we'll keep you posted as news happens on that. But that is interesting for sure. Well, I'm going to, for the next few minutes, what I'll do is I'll open up the comment box for some questions. I have a little bit of time. So if you guys have any questions, and I know the comments like fly through, right? But hit me up with some questions inside the comment box. I'll get back to you as I see them. I'll be here for a few minutes. So if you have questions about the team, about early enrollees, just questions that are on your mind, hit me up and we'll cruise through it. And remember, for the most part, I cut up all these and I upload them to podcasts as well. So on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. But I usually, sometimes in the back end, I'll take calls. I need to take some calls too. We're kind of long overdue for the calls. And of course, we have the call-in show. I'm trying to figure out kind of the best plan of attack for these weekend college football playoff games. I'll be out of town, but I think I'll be live kind of in the back of those shows. JTL, what's up, man? Yeah, people are asking like if Bama's broke. I don't think that Alabama's broke. I think they're just being selective right now. Jerry Williams is asking, what's the latest on Conception? The latest is that he's still taking his visits. He was in Colorado. I think there was a couple other schools that he wanted to check out. I mean, Coach Prime, can you imagine going from Coach Kalen DeBoer to Coach Prime? Coach Prime is going to gas you up. He's going to be like, look, I just had a wide receiver win the Heisman Trophy. If I'm Coach Kalen DeBoer, I'm like, look, there's going to be another quarterback operating the system. Come in here, we can pay you, you can play, we'll get the ball to you, right? Jeremiah Taylor is asking if the portal calendar can get fixed. It needs to. Think about it. And I think a catalyst for the portal window being changed is the fact that Marshall just opted out of its bowl game because they don't have enough players to play. Come on. Like, it's broke. Maybe just have the spring window, right? Why can't you do this? Maybe it has to do with school. I don't know, but maybe the spring window needs to be extended. And then at that point in time, you also remove the rule about the conference. You can't change from like SEC to SEC. You keep basically the same rules as now, but you put it in spring. I don't know. Jew, what's up? Inside the comment box, Isaiah Horton is as good as Bernard, if not better. Dang, that's what's up. I'm gonna watch some tape after this and get ready in case he does commit at some point in time. But Isaiah Horton is expected to commit to Alabama at some point today. Jamie Bird, what's up, man? I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being inside the comment box. The portal is long, so maybe you cut it down to like 2 weeks and you just put it at the back end of the season. You have recruiting, you have bowl games, you have transfer portal. Why is this all jammed into this little box here in December, right? And I think, you know what? And I was wondering too, and we'll never know this, is like how much money is going to each player? I have no idea. Look, as news happens, I got you covered right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. JS is asking, what are your thoughts on the schedule next year? I think it's a hard schedule. And that's tough for Alabama. Look at that stretch from Georgia to South Carolina. You serious? Georgia to South Carolina, at Georgia, at Missouri, Tennessee battle, at South Carolina, at Auburn at the end of the year. Yo, it's tough. Marcus is asking Kyle, what would you look to see on the defense? I think the defense didn't force enough pressure. Yeah, it was interesting. I felt at times that the defense didn't send enough pressure, but at the same time, like, they forced a ton of turnovers, a ton, right? I mean, that's the one thing that I did like about the Alabama defense was the amount of turnovers that they were able to come up with, and the fact that the defensive secondary started playing a little bit better at the back end of the season, right? Daniel, what's up, man? I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, fam. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Remember, as news comes, we got you posted on Bama Football on YouTube. Looks like Isaiah Horton could be close to pulling the trigger. Hit the subscription button so you're notified when videos drop. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. Be good people. Enjoy this week. Be productive. Enjoy your health. And I'll catch up with you soon right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Thanks for watching, fam. Love you guys.